who is as well known for his views on the destruction of Goa's environment as he is for his book Fish Curry and Rice, which is a virtual source book on Goa, its ecology and its lifestyle. Dr. Claude Alvares is the editor of the Other India Press and the director of the Goa Foundation, an environmental monitoring action group. He is a PhD from the Technische Hogeschool Eindhoven, the Netherlands, and has been a member of the Goa Coastal Zone Management Authority. We welcome Dr. Alvares and hand over to you.
I think I'm going to be intimidated with this type of classroom, so could you please come in front so that we are more cozy than me addressing something right to the back. I'm not very comfortable lecturing at people, so don't worry. So how many of you have heard of Mullah Nasiruddin? None of you have heard of Mullah Nasiruddin. He was one of the greatest management theorists of all time. What are you reading? Peter Drucker, and that's all old hat. That's not even useful. So I'll tell you a nice story about Mullah Nasiruddin. He used to keep a donkey and he used to loan it out to people. One character used to loan it out and he used to beat it quite a bit. So he resolved that he would never give it out to that character again. So one day when he was sitting in his balcony, the donkey was there in the backyard, he saw this guy coming up the lane. He said, now here's this guy coming for the donkey, now what should I do? So he said, I will pretend that there's no donkey around. So the man came to the gate, looked at the mullah, and he said, sir, I need your donkey again. So the mullah said, donkey? There's no donkey. The donkey is gone. My uncle has taken him away. And just at that time, this very donkey started braying at the back. So the man looks at the mullah, and the mullah looks at him, and again the donkey brays at the back. And then the mullah tells him, well, it's up to you whether you want to believe a wise man or a donkey. So this is going to be my attitude today with this lecture. It's up to you whether you want to figure out whether the things that I'm talking about today are coming from a wise man or are coming from a donkey. It's your choice. Keep your minds open and figure out whether some of the issues that I'm going to raise today for you as students in the management institute make any sense or don't make any sense. Now I'm not really interested, as I said, in a one-way talk. I prefer if we have some sort of interaction at some stage. And I'm not coming here to offer some sort of an explanation for the subject that I gave, the very provocative subject, why managers are poor environmentalists. In today's environment, I suppose it's almost what you would say a very obvious, conclusion that one would draw. But still, I think that we could have some sort of a discussion on the subject. Now, I'm going to speak to you from very, very practical experience. I'm not a management professor. I was working for the last 9 years, not in the state of Goa, but all outside the state of Goa, as part of a very interesting team of people appointed by the Supreme Court in 1997 to go all over the country and look at industrial units and to figure out whether they were implementing laws relating to hazardous waste. We know about pollution, we know about air pollution, water pollution, but there's also certain things that are called hazardous waste. That means waste that are produced in industrial units which are quite hazardous in themselves because they may have hazardous, heavy metals inside, they may have very corrosive metals, they may have metals, they may have all sorts of materials inside. So there is a regulation in India which clearly indicates how you should look after. This regulation was notified in 1989 under the Environment Protection Act. Do you know there is an Environment Protection Act? 1986. The Environment Protection Act 1986. I don't know what management students know about the environment. That's why I'm trying to probe. I'm not being scurrilous in any way. Despite this being on the statute books, everybody pretty well did what they wanted. And as usual, a petition had to be filed in the Supreme Court. And the Supreme Court then said, the situation is so bad. They called the Secretary Ministry of Environment. They said, they called him in court, physically called him, come, okay, walk it. They called him to court, a high-level functionary, Secretary to the Government of India. They said, nothing doing, you come to court and tell us what the situation is. So they asked him, do you know what is the quantity of hazardous waste being generated in the country? So he said, sir, it is about 2,000 tons a day. They said, on what basis are you saying this figure? He said, I will check. When he came back the second time, he had another figure. They told him, go back and check again, because the figures of the waste in the unit didn't match. And the third time he came with an astronomical figure of 5 million tons. So they said that this is the situation in the country. In front of the Supreme Court of India, the topmost government officials not knowing what is the quantity of hazardous waste being generated in the country. If you go to the United States, okay, they'll tell you it's 228 million tons a year. Because they calculate everything and they know exactly, as far as we can figure out, they have little bit better means of looking at quantities and a little bit, maybe a stricter approach to these matters. I'm not saying they're rich, there are many other things they do. So they try to dump it somewhere else if they can. But they know the figure. We didn't have any figure. And so the court said, how are we doing this business in this country? Even the topmost government officials not knowing what's generated from all the industrial units in this country under a law which has been there for the last 8 to 9 years. It was very shocking. So they said that, okay, now we are not going to listen to you anymore. And they said we are going to appoint this high power committee. So they called Professor M.G.K. Menon. And do you know Professor M.G.K. Menon? They called him out of his retirement. He was former Union Minister of Science and Technology. Fellow of the Royal Society of India. And they said we have this committee and we are going to give you a couple of people who go all around the country and you look at things and you come and report to us. And I don't know why, but they dragged me also into that committee and I was working with them for 3 years and they produced a report which we submitted to the Supreme Court in 2002. And then the Supreme Court looked at that report. They don't have any time either. But they looked at the report in October 2003 and they passed another big lengthy judgment and they appointed one more committee to oversee what the earlier committee had decided should be done. This is the usual business. So again they said, whom should we put? They said, no, call that Claude Alvares and that fellow and put them back on this committee. Because they came to know that we had done most of the work on the other committee, they said, put them on this committee as well. So again we were appointed commissioners. And from 2003 till today, we are in this job of going around again all over the country, cleaning up the mess that industries have created. And it's really remarkable to go to industry. I'm talking to you because we have now visited practically all the large-scale units, from Coca-Cola and Pachibada to whoever, Hindustan, same thing, any big unit that you want, whether it's in the state of Odisha or Andhra Pradesh or all sorts of places. We have visited all of them. I can tell you that I have stayed in all the 5-star hotels in India. There's not a single hotel that I have not stayed in. Because the first thing I used to always do was put off the aircon and open the rooms and also that you get some fresh air. But I'm saying that is incidental. Basically what I'm trying to tell you is that we really looked at things from the inside. And nobody could prevent any information from being given to us. As a matter of fact, many of my environmental friends who come to us and say, we are having the pollution control board, we are having this problem, they are not giving us the data. And in the presence of the board, I would say, give me your data. And in the presence of them, I would give it over to the public. I mean, we were completely radical in all our approaches, and we had a website. I think the website is there. I think it's called scfc.info, where all our reports are put up on the website. Whenever we write a report, we put it up on the website. If we write to a chief secretary of Kerala government, we put it up on the website. So that everybody knew what this committee was doing, and if there was anything that we were doing wrong or we didn't know, people could get in touch with us and we could get better. The result of it is that at the end of 3 years, we submitted this report to the court. And you can see the situation in 2003. This is more or less, I didn't bring my slides, I have about 500 slides, and we have all the industries in the country. This is what was there before, and we have just taken a sample, and this is now what is happening in the country as a result of the order of the Supreme Court. These are all pictures taken by me first hand. And I said I got about 400, 500 pictures, and I just made a mistake of forgetting my, not a very good manager. I left my laptop at home, otherwise I would have shown it to you. But it was a revelation to go and visit industrial units and to find at the highest level managers who did not think that they should look after their own waste. Now ask people as if you're building a house today for yourself, would you build it without a toilet? Would you build a house without a toilet? I mean, we all criticize the people in Bombay on the pavements because they are, they're skating all over the place, one railway tracks. They're poor people. They don't have a place, they don't have a toilet. Okay, they are living by the roadside. But would a middle class person build a house without a toilet? Would an industrialist build a house without a toilet? The company manager build a house without a toilet? I mean, we see all these TV advertising, these magazines, and all these wonderful toilets with all things you can do, and you can swim in them, you can sleep in them, and you can do all sorts of things in them. I mean, these the same people who are running these units being bothered about basically the equivalent of toilets for their units. And it is a strange thing that we found this not with ordinary small companies. Small companies you can assume. You may find that they have no money to put their waste someplace. And this is a hazardous waste. It's defined as hazardous. It's not non-hazardous waste. You can expect a small company to say we don't have the money to put it here and so on. But to think that this would be the case with Coca-Cola, Coca-Cola at Plachimada did not know that their hazardous waste contained excess levels of cadmium, heavy metal. They didn't know. What was more shocking when we went there was, all 7 of us went there, and we had a meeting with the company officials. They couldn't tell us where the cadmium was coming from. Now, this is, you would say, a blue chip company or one of these great companies who keep saying that they follow good practice and this, that. Forget about all the pesticides in their drinks. But I'm saying that this company did not know where, first of all, they were dumping their hazardous waste all in the fields in the form of fertilizer. This is good fertilizer, they were giving it to farmers. They didn't know that in that there was sludge. In that sludge there was cadmium. And they didn't know where that cadmium was coming from. Therefore, when somebody discovered that it had cadmium, they were shocked. They said, we don't know where it's coming from. So if they didn't know where it's coming from, why are they in this business? Dealing with a heavy metal which they were distributing all over the village environment very peacefully as fertilizer. We went to this Zuari Industries here. When we went to Zuari Industries in 1998, these guys, they had put in 1974 when they first began the plant, they had put up a unit based on the Vetrocoke process, which is using a lot of arsenic and generating a lot of arsenic by-process. Now, because they killed all the fish in that time, all of you, I mean, you will not be in Goa at that time, it was a very famous case of industrial pollution in 1974. They ended up killing up all the fish along the coast. Their treatment plant, effluent treatment plant, was the bay, the Kola Bay. The Japanese had insisted in them 1971 when they were putting up the plant that you can't put up this plant unless you have a proper treatment facility. They said we don't need a treatment plant because we have a natural treatment plant called the Kola Bay. This is in their fax messages to Japan. This is 74. So they dumped everything there, killed all the fish. They had to close down the company. The first company to be closed down in modern India for industrial pollution, 74, Goa, because of the agitation. And they had to switch over to Benfield. As a result of the Benfield process, they were no longer generating arsenic. But they didn't know what to do with the 95 tons of arsenic which they had accumulated when the factory had begun. It's just 1 year, they had accumulated 95,000 tons of arsenic in aqueous, what they call in watery form. It was lying there in a tank. And they had built a nice tank as big as this hall, maybe a bit higher than this hall. Nice, and they used to paint this tank every year with silver oxide, and they used to look upon it as some sort of a loving heritage which they had been given. I don't know why anybody would want to keep nearly 100 tons of arsenic in their property and look after it as though it were gold. But they said that, sir, we don't know what to do with it. So when we came there, we said, you do something to this because we are not going to allow you to keep it like this. So he said, yes, we are going to do something. And that was when I came here as part of the Menon committee. When I came back again as the second committee, the tank was still there. They had done nothing at all. So we called the company's management and we told them, look here, this is not going to be allowed by us. We slapped a fine of 10 lakhs on them on that same day. And we told them, you get rid of this waste within 3 months. So they said, we don't know what to do with it. We have tried all the technologies. We have written to all the institutes and all that. Fortunately, Niri was a member of our committee. And Niri said they have never come to us. We would have shown them what is to be done. So promptly they got in touch with Niri because they had this on their head. They would have to explain to their shareholders how they were going to have to pay this huge amount of the fine for doing something wrong. And they got the solution. They said that first thing they came to us is, can we take this waste to Maharashtra? We said, Maharashtra government is not going to allow you to take 100 tons of stuff to Maharashtra. Then they said, can we keep it till they find a suitable site in Goa? They said, no, we are not going to allow you because Goa, nobody is going to give anybody a site in Goa. They are not giving a site to even put their garbage. Forget about putting hazardous waste. We said that you have generated this waste. Your company managers live on this property. And the company director, managing director, owner, Mr. K.K. Birla, G.D. Birla, all come and live on this property. You will put it in this property itself. And we forced them to do it. And within 3 months, they got the needing. They got the technology, they managed to encapsulate it in hard cement. They first of all treated it, stabilized it, and put it into cement and buried it in a secure, what we call encapsulated storage in the property itself. And you can go there and see it. They had to spend about 70 to 80 lakhs only on that project to get it out. But otherwise they were very happy because they don't have to really bother, because as I was telling Vipin who comes, nowadays companies are very happy because they are directors for 5 years or 10 years. So this problem will be of the next directors or the next sort of fellows, just like our politicians. They don't mind. We are here for 5 years. Nowadays they don't, not even there for 6 months or for 2 months sometimes. But you say we are there, we are company directors, we can always change, we can go, even though liability, we can always retire. Somebody else will take the problem. We don't really have to worry about it. And you think that these are great managers, they dress so well, they are in all these 3-piece suits, they live in air-conditioned this thing, they have all these scientists and technologists and all these managers, I don't know, MPAs, I don't know, whatever you call them. And they are looking at the scheme of production of theirs. And the crucial component, which is the waste that's coming out and which is creating a problem for people and creating a problem for the environment, is not in their calculations at all. It's, as you know, as we say in economics, it's an externality. You don't have to bother about it. Somebody else will pay for it. If we have to pay for it, then of course, the cost of the goods become prohibitive. So it's very easy for us to say, dump it on the rest of the guys. They'll pay for it in terms of their health, and the cost they will pay in terms of medicines and doctors and all that sort of thing. And we were shocked to find very, very good companies. We went to Cochin, where there was Binani Zinc, a very large company producing zinc. And they had devastated an area of 2 to 3 kilometers around the plant. And the whole plant, the whole land, the fields, the water was a bright yellow of jarosite. And when we went there, they said, sir, this is not from us. You know, we have got, like in Goa, we have got laterite rock. And this is all water from that laterite rock. That's why the water also looks yellow. Yes?
So in economics, there's a concept where
Yes.
you have a private cost of production and a social cost of production.
Yes.
So often what happens is that any of these particular industries, a cost of pollution is added to their private cost wherein they derive the social cost. So that has been implemented in a number of American companies. There is a particular cost that has been charged to those companies and is actually reported in their profit and loss statements. Why can't we have that in India? I mean, what is it that's stopping us?
We're never going to have it in India for a long time because the people at the helm don't believe these things should be done. I'm not talking about the government sector, I'm talking about the managers and the owners. They don't believe it should be done.
But here, this is where the government or rather the central authority has to take charge. I mean, somebody who regulates it has to take charge. I don't think the industries will even identify that the pollution is generated by them. I think it is for the central secretariat or the government, the state governments to actually take initiative and probably do something about it.
See, that in my view, what you're saying is correct. I'm saying let's go back to the law. What I'm saying is there are two attitudes to the law. One is there's something put on you from the outside by government. You follow it insofar as you find if you don't follow it, somebody may close you down. But you don't follow it for any inherent reason. You don't believe that you should follow it because it's good for your practice, or it's good for your society, or it's good for your environment. You follow it because it's a danda. Somebody has put it on. And if you find that you can treat the danda, means giving the inspector who comes, a couple of thousand rupees or something, it's better than treating your effluent. You treat the man himself and you get him out. So there's no problem. That's how we are functioning. There's no difficulty. But I am interested in trying to see how we can do it internally. It has to be part of our internal system. Now the Americans have got a totally externalized system. They believe very strictly in this. I mean, I don't think that type of externalized system would probably work here because we have today all the environment laws. We have got even more environment laws than the Americans.
But here, again, the key issue has to be time, isn't it? I mean, maybe,
Time? In what sense time?
so because maybe you can start off by externalizing it. Maybe you can start off by inflicting punishments, monetary or otherwise, upon people to actually pollute. And then maybe the consciousness will evolve where they actually start internalizing this hygiene process. So maybe you decide let's externalize it, let's start punishing them right now, and then maybe in the future the consciousness will evolve in such a manner that they will start taking this hygiene process more seriously.
Well, I think in a certain way it's a positive step because what you are doing is you are acknowledging something which you did not acknowledge before. So, okay, before you did not recognize that this was the cost. You said it was an externality. Now you have made it part of your cost. You recognize that it's possible. You still try and cheat there, but at least it's one step further that you are going to say, okay, now we recognize that we have got. And there are different ways. You have this extended producer liability concept where you look after something from beginning from cradle to grave. All sorts of new approaches are coming. I'm not saying these concepts are there. I'm saying that if we wait for these concepts to get into the mainstream, we'll all be dead. You see, I'm not one of these doomsday specialists. I'm not one of these. I generally am a very great optimist, despairing optimist, but I'm always an optimist. But if you look at some of the things that are coming out now from the international system, I'm talking about the global system, I'm talking about the international scientific system. How many of you have read, for example, the report of the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change? See, this is part of your management curriculum. It really deprives you of reading things. You see, this report now has been generated by 2,500 scientists from all over the world. It's so compelling that the governments have to meet in Europe to deal with it because they didn't know how to deal with it. And then finally they came to some compromise solutions on some words here and there, but in the end they said that now the issue is not whether this is going to happen, but how we accommodate it. Means one of the main conclusions is basically sea level rise. How do we accommodate to sea level rise? Because we can't do anything any longer with preventing sea level rise taking place in the next 50 years. We have only got to accommodate. We have only got to see how do we deal with it now with the next generation. Now I am not the next generation. He is not the next generation. We are ready to provide some fodder for termites and earthworms. It's you guys who are the next generation. And you guys don't even read a report that's killing your future. And it's not even part of your textbooks. And it's not even part of your textbook of how do we really look at managing the resources of the earth. And what are we doing to them? And do we postpone these things by saying, for another 50 years, let's go on, externality may become part of our internal functioning, and so on. It's never going to happen. It's never going to happen. We have already lost in a certain sense. My son was wanted to buy a plot in some coastal area somewhere. I said, Baba, go and buy something in some, go somewhere inside, maybe about 6 to 7 meters high. And you'll be safer, then at least your investment will be protected. So don't be foolish enough to put anything within at least 3 to 4 kilometers out from the coast of Kalambut or Baksa, any of these places. There's no point in doing it. If you go now, I was telling Bipin, if you go right now to the Taj Holiday Village, the entire village, the wall of the village is now exposed to the sea. I mean, the lawn is touching the water. There's just a berm, but the whole berm has been demolished and the grass is sticking out like that and the waves are coming. And we have been part of coastal ecology now for 25 years. I know these beaches north from Poland right up to Tirakon, I don't know how many dozens of times. And you can see the changes coming up. You can see entire beaches are going. Poland beach has been submerged completely. You can see, go to Agonda, for example, all the trees are crashing. You go to Galjibag in front of this great intercontinental 7-star hotel, all the things have crashed into the sea. All the casualties we had put for coastal erosion are all gone. We are not going to be able to cope with that type of disaster. Have you read about the Professor Boris Worm report? The Boris Worm report is again another group of scientists all over the world who got together to look at the state of the world's fisheries. And their calculation from the basis of the overfishing that is taking place day by day in different countries and the way we are destroying very, very critical links in the fishing chain by going in for selective fishing, they have predicted that by 2045, again in your generation, there will be a global collapse of world fisheries. A global collapse of world fisheries. That means fisheries all down, all the coasts will crash. At that time, India will be one of the few countries with the largest populations living on the coast. Because of our policies of Kolkata, Chennai, Bombay, encouraging people, more and more people to go there, getting them out from villages and packing them out. We have largest numbers of people on the coast. That's our policy. That's the way we are doing things. There's no time. There's no time for these type of things. The amount of gases that are damaging the atmosphere, the ozone layer, these gases are already in the atmosphere. There's nothing we can do about them. They are already there. And they are going to keep on continuously clawing at the ozone level till it's so huge that it will have its own impacts. And you see, we can't do anything about it. Now these are scientists who, scientists typically have always been great optimists. We can find technological solutions to everything. We can find solutions to everything. You tell us what your problem is, we'll find a technological solution. And these are the guys who are now telling us that because of a whole lot of their own inventions over the last 200 years, or even the last 50 years, like CFCs and so on, they have completely demolished the management system of the planet till it's now irreversible the situation. And you think that our managers today are going to, we have to take the long route and tell them that look, somehow you look at this. And all these managers are 50, 60 years old, right? They are bothered about the next generation. You think Wilfred D'Souza and all these old Johnnies who should be in museums right now, you think they are going to bother about what's going to happen in the next 5, 10 years? Forget about the next 20 years. I am dead and gone. I am the only reason I am doing something. I don't want my 3 boys to give me galis. And so what sort of a guy this? He just gave us. He saved some money for us, but that's a whole lot of banknotes, and it doesn't mean anything because the air is gone, the water is gone, the beaches are gone, and the entire industry, which is all related to tourism. 2 of my sons are in tourism. They won't have a business in the next 15, 20 years. They won't have a business left. So what have you done? What have you guys done? And still we think that we can continue with this. Now this whole situation came about only because of Dandara. Because we went down and we caught them by the necks. We said, why are you doing this? And senior managers coming to meet us at every place, coming and bowing with flowers, with garlands, with trays of cashew nuts, with the most expensive pens, because we are members of the Supreme Court Monitoring Committee, and we could shut our unit down that very day, which we did. We did several industries we shut down. We shut down 75 industries in Tarapur Industrial Estate in one day, 24 hours. We just issued the orders, it was closed. We closed down Aventis Pharma in Gujarat, which is a blue chip company belonging to Bayer, pharmaceutical. We found these guys taking their waste in drums, highly toxic drums, with a chit from the factory gate, that means illegally gone out to the factory gate and being dumped in fields outside. We came back to the plant and we shut the plant down. It took us 24 hours to issue the orders because they had to come from Gandhinagar. But the orders came, but we told the plant manager, you will start the process of closure of this plant right now. And they began the closure. Because they couldn't do anything. There was no charge. They came and pleaded to the manager was a Maharashtrian, Dharmadhikari. He said nothing doing. He had to go to jail. He was called to the police, he had to be seated in the police station, he had to give a record and everything. The company was fined 25 lakhs, they had to go back and bring that waste back into the company site. And then Bayer put out a call to all their units all over the world saying that this has happened, please re-examine your practices. And they told us to spend another 5 crores only on this, just trying to get things improved all over the place. Now why would these managers of this company do this? For what reason? Because I was discussing with you, we have all gone through this education system. We are still in classroom. We are still in classroom. I am a manager. I'm a person who runs a business. If I go out of the room, then the people who are working will be doing something else. They start talking to each other. They will, we start daydreaming. Then if I want to come back inside, they will all suddenly feel that, they are doing something. So, now, this you find everywhere. It's exactly the same classroom mentality which you find everywhere. In the classroom, the teacher goes out, the noise level goes up, everybody, boys are throwing stones at all sorts of. The moment the teacher comes, everything is quiet. This happens in college, and from this experience that I had of 7 years, this happens in every industrial establishment. I have yet to come across an industrial establishment which told us at the gate, saying that you are welcome to come. We don't have any time for you, because we are managers, we have got to look after production line. But you can go anywhere in this plant without escort and look at things and they will be fine. We didn't find a single company in the entire country which could give us this type of response. That's the state of this, the level of management in this country. That's the state. And people say, no, but this excuse, and that excuse, and the third excuse. I'm not used to excuses. I learned a very good thing when I was doing some medical, my pranama exercise under Rishi Prabhakar. And some things that you remember all your life. And he said, when we begin our courses, we begin at 6 o'clock sharp. So you be at 6 o'clock there. And don't tell me that I've come at 6:05 because the bus was late. If you know that the bus is going to be late, you catch an earlier bus, you'll be here. You don't tell me that I had to fight something, that I lost something here or there. I'm not interested in excuses. You are a responsible individual. It's 6 o'clock. You come at 6 o'clock. Don't give me all these excuses. I'm late because I had this problem, I lost my pant, I did something here, I lost it. That's not no use. Those are all excuses. You're a responsible person. That's why we kept telling this company manager, that you're a responsible guy. You're not a politician. You're a responsible guy. You say that you've got these are the company objectives. This is what you're going to do. How do you start cheating inside? How do you start cheating inside? Just like an ordinary, thug outside in the streets who is all the time cheating, bypassing every rule, doing whatever he wants. That's what we do. Okay, we call some people criminals, we call ourselves something else, we call ourselves company managers. It's the same old thing. I have seen people dumping really hazardous waste into water bodies and not bother about what the impact of that water is going to be on all the people who are drinking it. We went to Ankleshwar. Ankleshwar is a big industrial estate. The water in Ankleshwar industrial estate has 5 different colors in 5 different locations. There are pictures in this book. And this book is going to be on the website. All the pictures. There was green colored water. There was red water. There was plain water which became red after 10 minutes. That means it was photosensitive. I don't know what type of water it was. There was Coca-Cola colored water. I mean, you could put it in a bottle and sell it as Coke. Pictures are there in the book. Which meant that some industrialist, instead of putting it into his effluent plant, had made a bowl and was putting it into the ground. In Bichri, we have a very famous case where industries producing H-acid, a very toxic chemical, had put in a series of bowls and contaminated all the groundwater in Bichri. And the cost of rehabilitation of that is 45 crores. And the industrialists closed up unit and back. And we, a poor society, we don't have a lot of money to waste. We are left behind with the bill. And nobody knows how the bill is going to be paid. And all this hazardous waste that is being generated is all the bills that you have to pay. We don't have to pay anything. We are on our way out. You've got to pay it. Because a landfill in which you put hazardous waste has got a lifetime 30 to 40 years. After 30 to 40 years, we don't know what's going to happen to the landfill. Because the materials we are using, HDPE liners, double liners, all that sort of thing we use, it's still better than just dumping your waste somewhere. But eventually, something will happen, maybe an earthquake somewhere, there will be a fissure. Some war will take place, some bomb will be put in there. And millions of tons of hazardous waste will go directly into the groundwater. As your present to the next generation. So we said, we are not going to take this existing system. We amended the rules, just like your suggestion, we amended the rules. And we have put it in the law, and the Supreme Court has made it part of the law, that if you now come back to a pollution control board and ask them for consent, for renewal of consent, they are going to ask you, what have you done to reduce the quantum of hazardous waste that you are generating in your plant. Suppose you are producing 6,000 tons per year, you please show us whether you have reduced it to 3,000 tons, whether you have reduced to 1,000 tons, or whether you have done waste minimization and there is no waste at all coming out of your plant. If you have not shown us, we can't give you a consent for renewal. You will not be allowed to operate. That is the only way we have been able to bring the thing to a situation where we say either you do this or you are not allowed to. Now I don't know, as usual, it's a rule in the book, but I can tell you every damn pollution control board in this country is corrupt. I know the chairmen of all the pollution control board by name. I speak to them on the phone. Member secretaries, pollution control board, chairman of the boards. I know them all, including the fellows sitting here in Gujarat, in this Goa pollution. The Goa Pollution Control Board officials are so timid compared to the Maharashtra board official. Maharashtra board official, even the peon, will enter the gate, go straight to the effluent, take a sample and go off. And he won't care too damn, whether anybody is going to obstruct him. Our guys will be told to wait outside the manager's cabin for 3 hours, and they'll sit and wait for 3 hours. While the manager is then taking steps to see that everything is clear. This is the state of our guys. I have been to any number of places where I find, when we went to Alan, we found pollution control boards are all there, and we found that everything had been cleaned up the day we were going. Bulldozers, all waste, all everything covered up. They think sometimes a group of committee members appointed by the Supreme Court will be fooled by putting some mud over something. This is so fresh, you can see it all covered up. But somehow they feel that that is what we should do. Somehow. Because this is the way it is. Environment is not a serious business. If somebody comes in on 365 days, okay, you put some mud over it, cover it up, and he will go away, and we can continue business as usual. Now this is not our ethos. I don't know where we got this culture. This is not our culture. I don't believe this is our culture. I think this whole management bondogle that has come, it would have been better if it had emerged from our own. It's not that we were not good managers. This is a whole country. You can't manage a civilization for 5,000 years and not be good managers. The 5,000 years you managed your civilization, you had your forests intact, your rivers intact, you produced beautiful pieces of architecture, temples, monuments, you produced good paddy, you produced 300,000 varieties of paddy. You produced everything. It's not that we didn't have good managers. But we have now probably a management system, which I think we should do very quickly. It's not our management system. It's not our principles. It's not the way we think. I don't think this is way we have adopted. This is not part of the way we don't do these things instinctively. We don't normally like to hurt other people. We don't normally like to. I can give you any number of examples of how we look at this. Because I remember, because I'm a philosophy student, I studied philosophy for my master's. We used to figure out why did we think that it was possible in this country to very valuable ideas, how we can manage our societies, how we can manage our ecologies, ecosystems, look at communities properly, and not look at this present mode of looking at things, which is having this great God in front of you, this God of money, and everybody chasing him. And you fight about other things, you fight about Islam and Christianity and all. But on this one God, nobody is fighting. All are united. That we process all our trees into cash, we process our waters into cash, we process all our air into cash, and then we see how we can enjoy that cash. How we can hoard it somewhere. I don't know why people hoard cash, I can't understand. You can be taken any day, any time, and there's all the cash in the world doesn't mean anything to you. But somehow or the other we feel that we can accumulate. And I have seen youngsters at 35, 36 already their heart busted because of all the stress and making cash. And what's the use of being 60 years old and having a couple of lakhs in the bank with a heart busted? I can't understand. I just can't understand. I'm 58 now. And I would have had, if I had a lot of cash, I would have said I would have. But even now, when I'm at this age, what can you do? At this age, you can't enjoy. You can enjoy if you're 30 years old, you can have a lot of cash, you can do something. But what do you do now? By hoarding it. And at this age, half your teeth are fallen off. And you can't even eat a roti properly. And even traveling is a burden. These things, I think, is something. I think we have got in Goa a very interesting god called the Ganesh. I don't know if you know the Lord Ganesh. Ganesh is associated with this principle of the Mangala society. This principle of the Mangala society, where you wish your neighbors and your friends all the prosperity in the world. Prosperity is a good thing. Nobody is saying to be poor. Be prosperous. But you don't get that prosperity at the expense of somebody else, by harming somebody else. Now, that principle you can never get in any of the philosophies in the world. I went once for a conference in Germany. where they were talking about Francis Xavier. I said, it's not Francis Xavier, Francis of Assisi. Francis of Assisi is supposed to be the great guardian of ecology, because he talked about, brother donkey and brother bird. So he was, a very nice person. He used to be communing with nature. So I said that this God, I said, I'm a Roman Catholic. I know Assisi very well. But as far as something in the head is concerned, I said, there's nothing there. I said, you want to have a principle which you want to adopt for ecology and for good management, you take Ganesha. This is Ganesha? Who's Ganesha? Then I produced a picture of Ganesha. They were incredulous. This guy with an elephant trunk, you are asking us to look at it. Then I explained to them what the Ganesha stands for. I said, this is what the Ganesha stands for. And they were dumbfounded. They said, we never knew this. We only know Jeremy Bentham, principle of utilitarianism. Happiness is the largest possible number. Even if we kill thousands of people after that is not something that's part of our culture. Jeremy Bentham was not part of our culture. Utilitarianism is not our culture. But your whole management system, the whole education system, the system of competitiveness is all built on that. And nowadays we catch a lot of young people and we give them these fake values. And we tell them the good thing in life is to get into qualification, get an MBA, and then start exploiting other people. And we hold that as a goal. We hold it as a goal to people, to young people. I mean, a destructive goal we put up to young people. Young people should have destructive goals in front of them, exploitative goals in front of them. If it is nature, you are destroying it. If it is human beings, you are exploiting it. And you make this as conscious part of your principles of management. And you say this is a good thing, and I should be rewarded for it. And an ordinary man outside in the street will say, who are you trying to fool? I mean, you've decided to surrender your life for this. Don't ask the rest of the world to do the same. It's not necessary. I ask many young people a very simple question. They say, why are you taking your life, which is given to you, one life? You are not given another life. Maybe if you are Hindu, you can believe you are given a million lives. I have no objection to that. You are given one life, and all you do is, you put yourself into a position where you sell it to the highest bidder. Is that what life is all about? You sell it to the highest bidder. And he gives me the highest amount of cash because he violates all the laws. He doesn't pay any costs. He doesn't want to, he puts all the costs on the environment. So he is able to pay you more. And a good company which meets the law, they can't pay you that much because all their profits go into cleaning up the environment. They can't pay you that much. But your present thing is when people go to the National Law School, they go and pick up, and then we hear in the newspapers, oh, this year the bidding is 30 lakhs, 50 lakhs. Now, what sort of a culture is this? Where is that money coming from? It has to come from some exploitation somewhere. It has to come from some conversion of some natural good somewhere. We don't create good water. Do we create good water? Do we create pure water? Pure water is given to us. Do we create pure air? It's given. Our natural ability is to take pure air and make it better. Clean water, take good land and destroy it. Take a good forest and reduce it to a plantation. Take a good field of flowers and put something else on it. Cotton or some other thing. That's our ability. Our ability, we have got fantastic ability to impoverish things, and then to present it across as something that came from Manjari's. Some new cake from inspirations. Now, who are we trying to fool? In your innermost thinking, is that what you think? You can't be thinking that way. Normal people can't be thinking that way. Then why are people thinking? Why are people making themselves abnormal? Why are they thinking abnormal? I haven't been able to. I only blame it on the education system because I know for 10 years if you make a guy or a girl sit on a wooden bench for 4 hours a day with no way to even move against all the principles of natural learning, even if he has to go to a toilet, he has to ask for permission. And every time he asks a question, he's told to shut up. And he's told to write the answer that the teacher gives him. There's nothing that you can do with that guy after 10 years. And then to follow it up for another 4 years, the same lecturing, same old text, professors who have not changed their stuff for 25-30 years. I got the syllabus of Delhi University last week of 2003, 2004, 2005. The syllabus was a 1982 syllabus. And they had only cancelled and put 2002, 2003 on the front page. And these guys have got the courage to put their copyright on the top. And not with me, it's a museum piece. Museum piece. What do you do? That's why I told my 3 boys that, by heaven's sake, don't study. And we were the only parents who told our children that we will be upset with you if you study the stuff that they're giving you in college. And I told my youngest son was studying something written by Robert McIver in 1970 in the United States. This is our education system. We're teaching our students some rubbish that some guy wrote in 1970 in the United States. He'd be appalled if he knows that he's been taught here. Because the United States has forgotten him also. But we are still teaching, not only teaching him in the original, we are paraphrasing him, we're translating him into Hindi, into very bad Hindi. Nobody knows in the Hindi what they are saying. And they are teaching it in the English. When you read the English, you say, what is this man? What could he write? It's not possible. Because you know the textbook has been written by a guy who has written it only because he had to make some little extra money. He got the job to write the textbook, so he wrote it. So he said, what does McIver say? He just copy blocks from him and put it there and make something. I remember sometime, old time, students thought that they would fool their professors. There's a biology class, entomology class. So they took, different parts of an insect, they cut up, and they made one new insect and they went to it. Sir, what is this? And you are a good guy, because this is one of them is a humbug. But we don't have that discrimination. We don't have that discrimination. So I keep telling people, get out. Get out. I have a lot of reservations about MBAs. I was talking to Bipin also in the class, that you don't learn from books. You don't learn from books. That is stupidity, a monumental stupidity on which our education system is based. You look out. And even for managing, you don't learn anything from big companies. You don't. I've seen, after this, I'm going to write a book about it. After this, I don't think that I believe anymore in corporate managers. I just have no faith. Because in every time in every company, we could slam them on their faces, on their figures, their statistics, what they were telling us and all that. They have really no answers. It's all totally superficial. I say, if you want to really learn something about how people really manage, look at the small guys. Look at the small guys. I remember reading a paper many years ago, I think now the figures would have changed, that every year, maybe it was about 10 years ago, the US economy every year creates about 15 million new jobs. Out of 15 million new jobs, 13.5 million are created by small guys. There's only 1.5 million that are created by corporates. In India, there are entire cities in India which don't have any corporates at all. You come to my town, Mapsa. Entire population of Mapsa. All the people there are small guys. I, for example, run a publishing house. I employ about 18 people. A bookstore, publishing house. Government never gave me a subsidy. They never said that they'll acquire land from me. Like they want to do for the big guys, for the SCZs and all that. They never gave me subsidy or backward subsidy or this subsidy or that. And all the people, all the ordinary people who put in their business, put in a little money that they save, do something, they create their own jobs, they create wealth for the society. But nobody bothers about them because all the management guys are chasing the big guys, because big guys have got the big bucks. But the real guys are the small guys. They keep the country alive. I mean, if you want to eat some rice today, it's not because of the big guys. There are no big guys producing rice. It's the millions of small guys producing rice. And if they didn't manage the system well, and they didn't understand the rain and when it comes and how much you have to plow and how you have to maintain the seed to be planted every year, we would not have rice in the afternoon. We would not have rice in the night. Forget that. We forget the elementary thing. You go to any town, you go to Ponda. Ponda has got 3 or 4 big Indians like MRF and all, but you go to Ponda town itself. All the jobs are created by small guys. And you take the whole Indian economy as a whole, you take what is the maximum number of people in the formal sector that has been employed. Give me the figure. You should know the figure on your hand. What's the figure of people employed in the Indian economy, formal sector, today? It's a population of 1.2 billion. What's the number of people employed by the big guys today? Does any of you know? It's 28 million. It's up from 25 million, which was stagnant for the last 15 years. And before that it was 16 million. Now, you are not able to employ more than 28 million after 60 years. 60 years. When are you going to reach a credible figure for 1.2 billion? And do you think seriously that this type of model of industrial development, where you actually keep on killing jobs every day and killing livelihoods every day, is going to solve your problem? Or is it going to create such social unrest after some time that those guys who have got the good jobs are going to have to pay, like they are having to pay in many places? It's not an insulated society. It's not a society where you can lock yourself up. So you have a good job, somebody comes and takes your money afterwards. They come and take your wife, they take your car, they take your children, they do everything. Those type of situations also emerge. Because too much amount of inequality is also not permitted. It's something that's harmful to society. So it's not in anybody's interest at all to have two classes, one a very small class of 28 million making a good living, and the rest of the society eking out a small subsistence level type of, that doesn't work either. It's a very poor system. It doesn't last. It's not sustainable at all. Because the people at the top of the pyramid have to come down. And they will come down. And you can see this country over the last 25 years, the turmoil it has gone into. You've seen the SEZs. Within 2 years of passing the SEZ Act, they have to modify that. Because all these industrialists who wanted the land at the pittance. They want to cheat farmers. They want to use the Land Acquisition Act. Because your managers, you're paying for everything. Why don't you pay for the land as well? At market rates. Do you get the raw material supplies at less than market rates? So why do you want to take land at less than market rates? They have no answer. And they have to give in. At the face of our Tata's prestige company had to land up in such a situation. These problems have to, eventually they're going to come and haunt all of us. And I think that we should think about it. My job here was just to try and de-sediment your mindset. My main job is to try and, if water is too clear, try and muddy it a little bit so that you at least begin to think, is this guy really a wise man or is he a donkey? That's the question that I've got to leave you with. I don't want to say anything more. I think that I've said what I wanted to say. And certainly I think we have gone beyond our time. But if you've got any questions, we can still, we can still have. I have no difficulty. I have no pressing engagement. I'm not the Prime Minister for the next 1 hour, 2 hours. So if you want, we can continue with the discussion. Or we can say, bye-bye. What is your feeling?
So do you think environmental education should be part of the curriculum?
It is. As a matter of fact, only in the Management Institute it's not. But by Supreme Court's orders, it is part of the school education. It is now compulsory part of the school education. You know how? They have a compulsory textbook on environmental education. In that textbook, they have pictures of trees. And the children don't know that the textbook, the paper, is made from killing trees. The children sit on dead trees, that's wooden benches. And they learn about environment when there are living trees just outside the classroom. That's what they have reduced environmental education to. This system has a way of screwing up everything. You put anything into the modern this schooling system today, it will mutilate it and render it completely innocuous. There's no way you can get it. The only way is get them physically out from it for some time. Yeah.
So I had spent 3 years of my childhood here in Goa. At that point of time, early 90s, at that point of time, Porori was a dense forest, and the causeway here from Panjim was very densely populated with a lot of trees and vegetation, and so along the Manduvi also. So I would like to know what specific impact has there been over the last 10 years on the ecosystem in the Manduvi and the adjoining areas due to deforestation and.
There's still a lot of good forest there, but a lot of it has gone for things where people are not very conscious. Like in the about 15-20 years ago, the government itself gave a lot of land to all the entire journalist colony, for example, is in forest area. All the earlier defense colony, all these places were given to people, all in forest area. They should not have been given there, but at that time it was taken for granted that you could keep on cutting down trees and somehow or the other we could survive. But the interesting thing is that again, we are all because of the Supreme Court, things have stopped right now. And because of the Supreme Court, there are committees which have gone around identifying forests. Now, for example, famous case is the IT park of Mr. Danan Narvikar. He wanted to have this great IT park, and he wanted to acquire the whole of the Pilan Plateau, or not Pilan, the Sukur Plateau. And we told the government this is all forested area. They said, no, it is not forest, it is all land. So we went to court again. The court said we will send the forest department there. So we said, ask the forest department to submit the report to the court, not to their bosses. So the court put that into the order. And as a result of it, the report said that 80% of that area is forest. So Mr. Narvikar had to take his IT park somewhere else. But there's still efforts, continuous efforts to locate. Yesterday there's been a controversy at Pilan, because they are not allowed to divert areas which have got forests on them. Now what they are doing is they are cutting them and burning them so that they can tell the forest there is no forest here. But the environmental groups here are very powerful, and everything has been mapped already with Google Earth. All the areas we have mapped of forest areas. We have done mapping of all the forest, even of the mining areas, in the wildlife sanctuaries, outside wildlife sanctuaries. We have done all that. It's all been done and kept so that we can deal with some of these issues. We have filed several cases, including in this Bamburi area, this Sankwal area. Whenever notice comes to us, we file a petition and we get it stopped. But we can't, the people in the PDAs, planning authorities and so on, it's all a racket, so there's nothing we can do about it. They know that something is done, and there's a forest, and they still give permission. The forest department will give permission, and they go and cut it down. And they wait for us, and then we have to prove that it's a forest, and so on. But fortunately, because of our efforts, about 67 square kilometers of private forests have been saved in the state of Goa. And we are moving up to, we have asked the court for further orders to take it up to 250 square kilometers. That is in relation to something like 2,000 square kilometers from government forests that we have. And we have still very large, very good intact forests in the coastal, in the interior areas. So much of it is being destroyed by mining. And that's the impact of the Chinese so-called boom, having a great impact on the destruction of the mining, the mines and the forest areas in the Western Ghats. But we are fighting that as well. It's not that we are not fighting. But we had a very interesting case there. We had Netravali Wildlife Sanctuary, people may have heard about it. There were a number of leases there. And for 6 years we were able to block them from, they wanted to de-notify the sanctuary so that they could give it back to the mining lobbies. They went to the Supreme Court, they went everywhere. We pursued them, they lost their cases. Then finally they realized that they could appoint a forest settlement officer. They appointed a forest settlement officer. And he started removing all the mines again from the wildlife sanctuary. You can't stop them. Then we had to go back. Yesterday we went back to the Central Empowered Committee in Delhi, and they have issued orders to the state government that nothing will happen in the Netravali Wildlife Sanctuary without their further orders. But every time if we had a large number of people, if we had say 50 to 60 people working, we would be able to stop a lot of this rubbish that goes out of Goa. Because every decision that they take, you can unmake. You can do it. It's not happening. I have found over 100 cases in Supreme Court here, all over the place. And we have got substantial gains in many cases. Now the entire coastal area, we got blocked from development for 10 years. From 1997 to 2007, nobody could put up a construction in the entire CRZ of Goa. No residential house permitted. We got it blocked. And now the court has further blocked it for another year. So we keep on getting those type of orders. We are able to keep the sort of pressure. Of course, people will put up an illegal construction. There's a law against killing. People still go and kill. You can't do anything about that. So there's a law against putting up a construction. Somebody will still put up a construction and you will get it demolished. But that's the sort of society of this kind. You can't help it. But if there was a good group, for example, if we had groups from institutions like this who also joined these sort of themes, because I don't know how, Natara Sargaonkar was probably quantitatively the person who benefited the most from the regional
area in the right fashion, like
so,
you said. So
why don't you call me more often?
So the point is, it's not